Assalamu alaikum. Today we shall discuss bi-conditional direct effects of X on Y. To compute statistics for testing this hypothesis, we will make use of process macro template2, which appears in the form of a model like that. X is affecting Y directly, but this direct effect is conditioned by two moderators M and W, which will change the effect of X on Y because of their interactions with the X variable, thereby becoming three independent variables along with their interaction terms to change the Y variable or test variable. The model used for this purpose is Model-2 from the Hayes database, and as we have already seen that the X and Y relationship is affected by M and W as moderators, and we are using a database in which there are four variables: awareness about the democracy, perceptions about democracy in Pakistan, and this relationship of X and Y is moderated by M moderator, the social media, and the W moderator. We have used gender and dummy coded it for this purpose. So let's move to the SPSS and compute statistics about the role of two moderators in changing the conditional relationships but direct relationships between X and Y. So let's go to the SPSS and get the results. To apply the model on Model-2 on our research database, let's open it and see that there are variables: awareness about democracy, which is the X variable; perceptions about democracy in Pakistan based on this awareness about the democracy. So perceptions about democracy in Pakistan will play as the Y variable or test variable. Social media will be the first moderator, and gender will work as the second moderator in using the Model-2 or template2 by Hayes in this analysis. So let's activate the process model and then hand over the names of the variables. Awareness about democracy is our independent variable or X variable, it will go there. Perceptions about what is the future of democracy or democracy in Pakistan, that is our test variable or research variable or dependent or outcome variable, so it will come here. Then social media will go in M box, which is in this model playing a role as a moderator, not mediator. And finally the gender will go into W box, which is for the moderator, and in this case it is now moderator 2. In options we will select the total effect, three decimal places for the results, continue, and go to Model 2 for processing the interactions between the moderators and the XY relationship. So let's press OK and wait for the results. Here are the results. I have already posted these results into the slideshow, so let's go there and discuss them one by one in detail with better visibility and understanding. So So we have now computed the results by applying Model 2 from the Hayes database to process the results about how X is affecting Y variable in the presence of two moderators. The first result is always in descriptive form. The process model gives you the description of what model has been used, which is the dependent variable. In our case, it is perceptions about democracy in Pakistan. Which one is the X variable? In this model we have used, or the database we have used, the X variable is awareness about democracy, which is affecting the perceptions about democracy in Pakistan. And we have used two moderators. First moderator M is social media, and the second moderator is gender. The sample size is 243. So let's go to the first output, which talks about the inferential statistics or testing of hypothesis. The first output is about perceptions about democracy in Pakistan. It has been predicted by social media, awareness of respondents about democracy, interaction term 1, then gender variable, and interaction term 2. It means that X, W, and M and their two interaction terms are predicting the perceptions about democracy in Pakistan. Every moderator is multiplied with X variable to compute the interaction terms. So since there are two moderators, therefore two interaction terms has been computed by the process model, and they are now being used as the predictors of the Y variable, dependent variable, in our case perceptions about democracy in Pakistan. So let's see what is happening. R square is 0.687, which is huge, and it is declaring that around 69% of change in the perceptions about democracy in Pakistan, they are dependent on these 5 variables. This result is also significant because the p-value is 0.000, which is far less than the limit of 0.05. In the case of coefficients, we can see that SM social media coefficient is 0.341 and minus. Further, it is insignificant because the t-score we can see is 1.1, which is far less than required minimum limit of 1.96. Likewise, the p-value is 0.24, far greater than required 0.05, and at the same time the lower and upper limits of confidence interval, one of the limit is having minus sign, which means that there is 0 between the range. So the lower upper limits, p-value and t-scores, they are not supporting the coefficient of social media, that is 0.341, that it is significant, rather it is insignificant. Second, awareness of the people about democracy, it has again a huge coefficient, that is 0.894, but it is also with negative sign, minus sign, meaning that it has negative relationship with the perceptions about democracy in Pakistan. This score is significant on the basis of t-score, which is 2.47. It is greater than required minimum 1.96. P-value is also significant, and the lower and upper limits, both the limits have minus signs. Therefore, the result is significant because they are on the same side. Therefore, there is no zero or no chance of zero between the range. So the impact of awareness about democracy is significant as well as having big and huge coefficient weight, but it is having negative relationship with the y variable or dependent variable of perceptions about democracy in Pakistan. Next is the interaction term 1, that is the x multiplied by m first moderator. So interaction term is also significant with t-score greater than 1.96, p-value less than 0.05, and both the limits of confidence intervals, they are on positive side, so no chance of zero, so they are significant. However, the next two variables, gender and its interaction term 2 refers to the multiplication of gender with x variable. So gender and its related interaction term both have the coefficient values of 0.71 and 0.19 respectively. However, their t-scores, we can see, are both the t-scores are less than 1.96. Likewise, the p-values are also insignificant, 0.09 and 0.05, both are greater than 0.05, because this 0.052 means greater than 0.05. And finally, the lower and upper limits of confidence intervals of both the variables, they have got minus signs on one of their limits, lower limits. So they are declaring both the confidence intervals, p-value, as well as third t-score. They are declaring that these two variables are playing insignificant role in affecting the dependent variable of perceptions about democracy in Pakistan. So finally, we can conclude on this page that only two variables, awareness about democracy in Pakistan and first interaction term, that is between X and social media, these two are significantly bringing variation in the Y variable, while rest of the three variables, they are playing insignificant role. Next output is about the product terms key, that interaction 1, as we have already discussed, refers to the multiplication of X variable, awareness about democracy, multiplied by social media, and the second interaction term working as a variable in this process analysis is the X variable multiplied by gender. Further, the result is that R square increase due to interactions are that interaction 1, it has R2 change equal to 0.015, interaction term 2, it has increased around 0.05 R square change, meaning that these two terms and then both have collectively changed the R2 of R2 showing the change in the Y or dependent variable by 0.034. However, the result of both is significant, while the interaction term 2 has made limited R square change as well as it is insignificant with 0.052, meaning that it is greater than required 0.05. Now the final output, that is about the conditional effect of X and Y at values of moderators. We can see that both the moderators SM and gender has been used, meaning that these three results are about the gender female, while these three results are about the gender male. While this column is showing that at this level of social media, when the female are scoring at this level 4.259, then the effect is 0.040 with t-score of 0.383, which is insignificant, p-value of 0.7, which is also insignificant, and lower and upper limits of confidence intervals, since they have minus sign on one side, meaning that there is 0 between the two. So the female group of respondents with 4.25 score on SM are insignificantly affecting the relationship of X on Y. The second group, scoring 4.884 on SM, and they are female, they have got greater effect than 0.045, it is 0.177. It is also significant, we can see it is 2.251. The t-score is far greater than required 1.96. P-value is also far less than 0.05. And the lower and upper scores of confidence intervals, they have got plus signs, therefore there is no chance of 0 in the range. So females with having score of 4.88 on second moderator, the first moderator in the case of model, social media, with that score they have greater effect and significant effect on the relationship between X and Y. Finally, the third group of females, subgroup of females with score of 5.509 on SM, they have got bigger effect on X and Y relationships, that is around 0.314. It is significant with 4.54 t-score and p-score is 0.000. Further, the lower and upper limits of confidence interval, they are also significant. So two female groups. For this purpose, you can see that the process model has also grouped the data according to 3 levels of social media as well as the male and females. So the female two groups with 4.84 score on SM or 5.509 score on SM are giving significant results, and the increase in SM from 4.8 to 5.5 is also increasing the effect from 1.177 to 3.14. It shows that social media is playing significant role in changing the female members with awareness about democracy on their effect on changing their perceptions about Pakistan or perceptions about democracy in Pakistan. Now comes the male groups. The same levels of SM has been again used for the male members, and 3 subgroups of male members have been created. But we can see that when at the first level, when the SM is 4.25 with male respondents, the effect is negative, it is 0.154. However, this is insignificant. T-score is less than 1.96, p-value is greater than required 0.05, and the lower and upper confidence intervals, they have got minus signs on all 3 levels of male members on social media scores. So none of them is significant, all have got t-scores less than required 1.96, p-values are insignificant, and the one side of all 3 results has got minus signs, so there is 0 existing between the range. So we can conclude from this that the social media is working only in the case of female members. in bringing changes in the relationship of X and Y. Today we used Model-2 from the Hayes database for computing the impacts of two moderators on the X and Y relationships, direct relationships. The model used was this, and we have concluded on the basis of the results that social media is playing significant role, but in the case of female members, while its role is not significant in the case of male members. So the results has given us the real picture of what is going on in the situation where from the data was collected. In our previous model, we used one moderator and also used the template one from the macro. In the coming video, we will use two moderators but playing a different role than we have discussed in these two models, Model 1 and Model 2. So thanks a lot for listening patiently, and hopefully it will be good and helpful for all the listeners, and see you in the next video.